Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Numerics with Nadia. In today's video, we're going to continue working through our beginner geometry playlist. And in this video specifically, we're going to continue working on volume. If you haven't watched the previous video on volume, we went over what volume is and the volume of cubes and rectangular prisms. I would highly recommend watching that one first prior to this one. But for today's lesson, we are going to go through the volume of cylinders, the volume of triangular prisms, the volume of triangular pyramids, as well as practice like always. So to start, for each one of these 3D figures, we're going to go over the formula and have a diagram that can show us everything visually. So to start out, we're going to do the volume of cylinders. I have a picture of a cylinder here for you guys. The volume of a cylinder equation is V equals pi r squared h. Now, what does every term in this equation mean? Well, V is volume. Pi is a number. You can put it on your calculator or you can round it to 3.14, which we're going to do for all of our questions. Then r is our radius, and then h is our height. So I'm going to go through here and now label everything on our diagram just so you can see visually where we would take each piece of information from on the diagram. So the radius, right? Radius starts at the center of a circle, goes out to one end. So that would be our radius. And then the height of the cylinder is just the height of it. So I've labeled that for you guys too. And now we'll move on to our second shape. Our second shape is volume of triangular prisms. If you guys missed last week's video, we went over what volume was, and we also went over the difference between a pyramid and a prism. So I would highly recommend watching that video first. But now we'll get into volume of a triangular prism. We have our image here, that's a triangular prism, and our formula is V equals 1/2 times B times H times L, where V is our volume. The 1/2 is just a number that we have to multiply. B is our base. H is our height. And I know I draw my L's cursive just so they don't look like a 1, but the L here would be length. So now I am labeling everything for you guys. We have our base and our height and our length. And now we will move on to our third and final shape for today's lesson, and that will be the volume of triangular pyramids. Same setup as the previous two. I'm going to insert a picture of a triangular pyramid and we will go over the formula. So as you can see here, this is our triangular pyramid. It's already labeled with the capital B and H, our height. So our formula for triangular pyramids is V equals 1/3 capital B times H, where V is our volume and capital B is not base, but it's our base area. So we'll see how that changes the calculation in our practice section, but capital B is base area and H is just our height. So I would highly encourage you guys to copy all three of these down into your notebook. I've zoomed out here so we can see all three all at the same time. All of the formulas are very, very important and will be needed for our practice section. So if you guys are ready, you can pause it here or you can rewind. But now we will move into our practice section for today. The directions say to find the volume of the 3D shapes below. So the 3D shapes we're working with are cylinders, triangular prisms, and triangular pyramid. If I look at number 1 here, this is a cylinder. So I will go ahead and label that here, and I will write the corresponding volume equation. So volume of a cylinder, the formula is pi r squared h. So I'm going to write out what each variable is. Obviously, pi is just a number, so we'll leave that. Our radius here is 3 inches, right? It's the point from the center of the circle to the outside. So our radius is 3 inches and our height is 9 inches. So now that we've distinguished what each variable is, we can plug in for those variables. So we will have V equals pi times 3 squared times 9. And I would keep the pi in up until the last step. So we'll go through here. We know that 3 squared is 9, right? 3 times 3. So we have pi times 9 times 9. That gives us 81 pi. And now we'll multiply the 81 by pi, and I want you guys to approximate pi to 3.14. So when we do 81 times 3.14, we end up getting 254.34. Our units are inches, but our units will be cubed here because since it's volume, our units are cubed. So our answer for the volume of this cylinder would be 254.34 inches cubed. Now we'll move into our second question. Again, here we have a cylinder. So we have a cylinder, we're gonna go through, we know our volume equation would be the same, V equals pi r squared h. But what is the radius here? So this one is a little bit different because we are given 8 feet as our diameter and we want our radius. So we know that the diameter is twice the length of a radius, right? So if our diameter is 8 feet, that would make our radius 4 feet. Now for the height, that's easy to see. Our height is 6 feet. So now that we know what value is assigned to each variable, we can go through and plug in and solve. So we know that V would equal pi times our R was 4, so pi times 4 squared times 6. We know that 4 squared would be 4 times 4, and we know 4 times 4 is 16. So we'd have V equals pi times 16 times 16. And we'll do 16 times 16 on the side here. When we do that, we get 96. So our answer is 96 pi. And when we approximate pi to be 3.14 and we multiply by 96, we end up getting 301.44 feet cubed. Again, remember, units are always cubed for volume. So the volume of this cylinder is 301.44 feet cubed. So now that we've done 2 examples with cylinders, let's move into our third example for today. For our third example, as you guys can see, this is a triangular prism. And if we write out the volume equation here, we remember that the equation is V equals 1/2 times B times H times L. In this example here, our base is 5 centimeters, our height is 6 centimeters, and our length is 14 centimeters. So all we're gonna do here is we're just gonna plug in. So we have V equals 1/2 times 5 times 6 times 14. V equals, we'll keep the 1/2, we know 5 times 6 gives us 30, right? So then we'll have V equals 1/2 times 30 times 14, and we will do 30 times 14 on the side here. We'll do that multiplication. When we do 30 times 14, we end up getting 420. So we would just do V equals 1/2 times 420, and multiplying by 1/2 is the same as dividing by 2, and we know that 420 divided by 2 is just 210, so our answer for number 3 would be 210 centimeters cubed. And now we will move on to our fourth and final practice problem for today's lesson. If we look at the picture here, it looks like we have a triangular pyramid, right? So now we have to recall the volume equation for triangular pyramids. The volume equation is 1/3 times capital B times H. And for this one here, remember, capital B doesn't just stand for base, it stands for base area. So we're going to have to calculate that. Now the base of our triangular pyramid is a right triangle, and our right triangle has the dimensions of 12 and 8. And we know that our equation for area of a triangle is just 1/2 base times height. Our base here is 8 and our height is 12. So we can just plug in for that. We'll have 1/2 times 8 times 12. So the 1/2 will come down with us, and we'll do 8 times 12 on the side here. When we do that, we get 96. So we have 1/2 times 96. That's the same as dividing by 2. So we know that 96 divided by 2, well, that would just give us 48. So now we can fill in. Capital B is 48. Our base area is 48. And now for our height of our triangular pyramid, it's just 16. So now that we have both variables, we can plug in. So we'll have V equals 1/3 times 48 times 16. And we'll do 48 times 16 on the side here. When we do 48 times 16, we end up getting 768 once we add everything up. So when we plug that back into our volume equation, we would have V equals 1/3 times 768. And again, multiplying by 1/3 is the same as dividing by 3. So we know that 768 divided by 3 gives us 256. And notice here we didn't have units, but we know whatever those units would be, they would be cubed. So our answer for number 4 is 256 units cubed. So now that we've gone through our last practice problem, I just wanted to revisit all of the 3D shapes we had gone over previously. We have done volume of cylinders, cones, pyramids, triangular prisms, and rectangular prisms. And next time we will go through volume of a cone and of a sphere. But for now, that is the end of today's lesson. Great job, you guys. I know that the videos are getting a little bit more difficult, but thank you for staying with me. Amazing work. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. Comment down below any questions or any other video topics you would like me to do a lesson on. Please share this video with a friend. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next time.